Now, it's the second day of the Africa Oil Week conference in Cape Town. More than 25 African leaders and policymakers are meeting to discuss ways to harness the continent's natural resources to produce energy and help ease the continent's electricity shortages. eNCA reporter Nobesuthu Hejana is following this story, and she joins us now live. Nobesuthu, exactly what is the buy-in, at least from the private sector so far?
Well, Masego, we've heard from the private sector, more especially from the Absa Bank Group, saying that there is money to fund independent power producers. In fact, they are calling on the government and also those in the industry to come up with these solutions so that the government can provide, or rather the private sector can provide the funding. In fact, we spoke to one of the representatives from Absa, who was basically telling us that there is capital, and in the last decade they've funded a number of private producers, and they estimate that those funds could at least account to billions of rand, saying that the more there are of those independent producers, the better, to ensure that there's enough power to the grid, and saying that obviously this will help to alleviate the issues that the country is currently facing. And we also heard from NESA, the regulator, saying that, in as much as they support the competition that is being provided by these independent power producers, what's important is that the regulations will stay the same, and it doesn't matter if you are coming in and you are producing more than the other. And it's something that they want to ensure to those who are coming into the industry. But let's take a listen to Absa just confirming the amount of money that they're willing to pump into these projects.
We're looking at this at many levels. Renewable energy, as we know today, is no longer a grudge purchase. It's becoming essential. So if you look at on the sort of small retail side, a lot of clients and a lot of individuals and small businesses go to renewables to help them to save costs, and also to help them with just supply of power, specifically in South Africa, looking at solving for load shedding. But then on the bigger scale, if you look at more utility size, big corporates who need a lot of power, this is where we help them to procure power from independent power producers on a bilateral basis. And this is quite important for them. There's two main sort of reasons why they do this. The first is they all have targets and ambitions to get to net zero at some stage in the future. So to the extent they procure power from renewables, it obviously goes to that objectives. But secondly, because the effective cost of renewable power is reduced so significantly, these guys are able to procure power from IPPs at rates which are significantly cheaper than what they're paying at the moment. So it's a huge profit incentive for them as well. Because of that, we see an absolute explosion of clients, heavy power users, turning to the IPP market and renewable energy producers to procure power from them.
All right, and Nobesuthu, in terms of what officials have been saying, we saw, for instance, what the Mineral Resources Minister had to say yesterday at that particular summit. But what else are other departments saying about the kind of investments that we need in South Africa?
So mainly today's summit is focusing on the partnerships between the private sector and the independent producers, and how they can assist also the continent as a whole to try and alleviate the issue of the power supply in the country as well as Africa. In fact, yesterday we heard from the Mineral Resources and Energy Minister Gwede talking about the fact that he believes that gas is the new game changer to address the power crisis in the country. And we've also heard from one delegate from Nigeria who was saying that in as much as the country is pushing to utilize renewable energy, but it's also important to mix the two, because if we run out of one, then we're going to be exhausting one. So he was saying that in a country like Nigeria, where they have a lot of gas and oil, they try to balance out how much of the power that is being produced by both entities to ensure that the rest of the country does not struggle. I mean, he also referenced the fact that Africa does not have its own power supply. Hence, the continent needs to come up with a solution that will sort of address the issues across board and not rely on global standards. Hence, this particular summit is important in addressing those issues, and the support from the private sector is very much important, because in as much as the government wants to go into the renewable sector, but it's the funding that will be needed in terms of the infrastructure and so forth. And we also heard from Gwede Mandashe talking about the fact that the country is losing billions of rands due to NGOs that are concerned about the environment and climate change that are taking the government to court, and that he was saying that companies like Shell, Total and eNCA, they were in the country, but because of those pushbacks from these entities, they left the country and opted to go to countries like Namibia, Gabon, and he was also talking about the fact that Namibia is now thriving, utilizing the renewable energy, and it's something that South Africa could have also been using. And he also talked about the fact that in Mpumalanga they discovered gas, where they are planning to utilize that, and they have plans, and also saying that in the provinces like Free State, they've also made those discoveries, and government is planning to instead to push ahead with such plans to utilize renewable energy, despite the pushbacks and them being taken to court by these NGOs.
Right, Nobesuthu Hejana with that report. Let's leave it there for now.